Welcome back to Beyond the Clinic Walls, a podcast dedicated to helping private medical practices and healthcare companies thrive by leveraging technology and innovation. I'm your host, Roby Flynn, and today we're diving into the powerful world of performance-based marketing, focusing on how practices can connect with patients who are actively seeking their services. I'm excited to introduce our guest today, Ron Greenfield, the Chief Marketing Officer of Partners Edge, a leading performance-based marketing network. Ron, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Could you start by telling us a little bit about Partners Edge and the unique way you guys connect buyers and sellers through high intent inbound calls, web leads, and ping post traffic?
Well, first of all, I've been doing marketing sales for over 40 years. Everything from healthcare to the fitness. We had a fitness facility. And Partners Edge is a lead generation company that, as you mentioned, does pay-per calls, inbound and transfers, does web leads via ping post, and also has an extensive affiliate network. Over the 40 years, we've definitely seen dramatic changes in marketing strategy, from worrying about trying to see the decision maker and getting through a gatekeeper. Those days are gone. I can't remember the last time I made a cold call, physical cold call to a decision maker. Most of, probably I'd say a good 99.9% is done through working through Zoom calls, working through emails, etc. And then usually it's the decision maker or the designated person from the decision maker that's reaching out to me versus reaching out to them. So they've seen the services that we're offering and say, well, we're interested in that, whether that is auto insurance, final expense, life insurance, whatever it might be. And then they'll contact us. There's me contacting you, trying to then determine your needs, and then try to sell you on the needs. So that's probably been one of the greatest changes that I had to adapt to become computer literate enough to be able to set up the Zoom calls, work the Zoom calls, making sure the cameras are on. For the simple reason, when I'm talking to a decision maker, I want to make sure he's talking to me and not eating a ham sandwich. And that way I can also gauge the reaction. Is that something that they're interested in? They're not. So camera work is very important, especially since I'm not getting that one-to-one sitting across the desk from you, trying to market our services and or products. So I really kind of highlight that because that is the major difference. And the key then becomes, how do I get in front of their eyes, the decision maker? Whether that's through LinkedIn, and I'm a strong believer in LinkedIn, which is very B2B, business to business operational, versus B2C, which might be a Facebook, where the actual consumer then would contact us regarding services that are provided, and then we would then interact with the actual consumer and then connect them with the service provider.
For our audience, can you explain what performance-based marketing is and how it differs from other traditional marketing approaches?
Well, basically, performance, it's really always looking for different verbiage to describe the same thing. How effective is your marketing? Effective is your marketing strategy? So looking at calls versus actual conversions, looking at how many impressions are made on a LinkedIn post. So that's all performance-based versus 40 years ago when we look at how many calls did you make, how many decision makers did you see during a day. Now those numbers are dramatically different from the old days. And that's part of the performance marketing, of looking and doing the granular work of saying, what is your output, the work output versus the connection, and how has it been effective with the marketing? So really performance marketing is exactly what it means. How well are you performing that marketing? And performance means, did you close the deal? Is that person going to be working with you, etc.?
Okay. So your network specializes in inbound calls and web leads. Why are these channels particularly valuable for service-based industries like healthcare, especially for specialized private practices?
These days, do not call lists have become very, very important. And even the courts are getting more and more involved. So versus me calling you and saying, would you be interested in, and then you say, oh, I'm on a do not call list, even though there is different software from real-time validation to IP quality score that will knock out the DNCs, we still somehow get those. An inbound call means you as the consumer are calling us. So do not call does not become an issue at that point because you've done the initial reach out. What you have to be careful of is then people then calling you and saying, listen, I want you to give that call, but don't let them know I already called you and prepped you. Those are coached calls, and we try to stay away from those, as well as incentivized calls. If you call Partners Edge, we'll give you a free CD, or we'll give you a free dryer or whatever. So trying to get away from incentivized marketing as well. So inbound is especially effective for us. Web leads via ping post just allows us, once again, to even not do the call, but this creates the momentum to establish the call. So you saw something in an advertisement on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on TikTok, whatever it might be. And at that point, you then replied to our landing page or our website. And from then we would establish an inbound call. So one starts with the inbound call, the other one starts with the consumer or the decision maker deciding that there is some slight interest in pursuing their product.
Okay. For our audience, can you further explain what pin post traffic is and how that mechanism ensures that companies receive leads that are a good fit for their specific services?
Well, basically, a web lead will go, and it's really done incredibly quickly in a matter of nanoseconds. I might have 8 buyers for a particular web lead. They'll continuously bid on it. High bid wins that lead. At that point, we have a return policy that if you were unhappy or you tried to reach out and the email address wasn't correct or the phone number wasn't correct, you're allowed to return that lead, so you're not at risk. So versus buying a lead and just going in the phone book and grabbing names and numbers, those would all be returned versus someone really kind of espousing an interest. Think of it as a library. You're going into a library, you're going to pick out a book and check it out. You're going to decide whether you want to actually check it out or not. So you'll pick it up, you look at it. 2 other people might be also interested in that book. Whoever wants the book takes the book through the pricing. And usually there's a range. Whatever the range is, they normally know what the range is. And that can be based on geographics, on locality. We only do US based. We're nationwide. We don't do any international. Switching that into a healthcare operation, that would be more local. You're not going to get someone in Connecticut, unless it's a specialty program, to drive to Florida to get involved. You're going to get a Floridian who's relatively close to you. So the marketing would be very different on a nationwide versus locally. Locally, you can hit your newspapers, you can hit magazines, you can hit industry-related periodicals, etc., and keeping it local versus nationwide.
Okay. For healthcare companies looking to acquire new clients, how can a performance-based marketing network like yours help them consistently fill their appointment books, particularly for their high-value offers?
Well, the first thing we have to look at is, I know for me, when I'm selling a product, I have to explain why you should utilize me. What's different about me? A lot of times that will be the customer service, the follow-up, this and that, or the fact that we might do a specialty program that no one else does. But there has to be a reason why you're going to then connect with me and work with me as a provider. Not just because you heard good things about me or that you read good things about me. As you see it, it has to meet your needs, whatever that is. If you're a cancer patient, the type modalities that are offered, you would look at that and say, oh, well, no one else is offering that. Let me try that, which might be 5 radiation treatments versus 41, which might be more high intense. So you really, as a provider, have to look at what makes me different. Why should you use me versus the doctor who's in the same building with me doing the same services I am? What makes me different? Whether that's individualized, personalized attention and care, but you have to illustrate that. And part of that is not me trying to sell you, but listening to you and then trying to meet those needs. So I know in sales and marketing, like I'm doing in the podcast, where I do most of the talk. In a sales marketing, I want to do very little of the talking. I want to ask questions and have you talk. And then from what you're saying, then I can put together some sort of a strategy to be able to work with you. Or being upfront and saying, this might not be a great fit. There are sometimes I think that you have to do that. That sometimes has more impact than actually working with the consumer, because when their friends are asking him, they'll say, well, I didn't work with him because he said he doesn't do that service, but I really appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. because the rule of thumb is that if you like a service, you're going to tell other people about it. So that might make you unique as well. And I'm not just saying, oh, well, we don't do it, but recommending someone and say, but I have an associate who's excellent. Let me give you his number. He's not that far away, blah, blah, blah. That way you can kind of put the pieces together like that.
What are some common misconceptions or hesitations that medical practices or healthcare companies have about engaging with performance-based marketing, and how would you address those?
Well, I think to be perfectly transparent, one of the things you have to do is avoid fraud. You don't want to be wasting your office's time answering calls where people have absolutely no idea why they called you, don't have the illness that you're treating. Those kind of frauds just waste your time. No one gets paid on them. It just becomes a time waster. Now, a lot of the inbound calls will have a buffer. It could be anywhere from a minute to 2 minutes. After that buffer is done, that's a billable call. So you have to be careful that within that 2 minutes, you've made sure that this is a call of a patient that fits well into your practice. So I think you really have to be well aware of the fraud. I like to ask people to give me at least 2 to 3 references of other medical practices they've worked with. So at that point, I can give them a call and find out. I mean, no one's going to give you a reference that's going to give you a bad reference. I mean, unless you're an idiot. So references that I'm giving you from other doctors, but it's at that point where you call the doctor up and get the information from them or somebody that you designate to call up and really drill down and find out exactly the services that are on and provided and how well were they established. So I think that becomes a key as well.
How does technology, and more specifically AI or advanced analytics, play a role in optimizing the campaigns with your performance marketing network? And how do you ensure the right buyers and sellers are connected efficiently?
I think that's going to grow. I think we're just now kind of touching it and this and that. So I'm talking about taking it another step, not just using AI to help you with your advertisements, etc., which is very good at helping you rewrite an email or helping you develop the script for a call. So we can use AI for that, but also under the performance, looking at past 20 calls, how long was the duration, which calls then resulted in a sale. So you can use it to also help to see how successful your prospecting is and how successful your performance is. So I think that's a key. I think we've only scratched the surface. I think that we allow an IVR and AI to be involved in the calls, but we keep it very limited. So they might ask you 5 questions. How long have you had this illness? Are you currently getting a service for this? Those type questions. And now we're going to connect you to our doctor's office, to the physician's office. So that way, that kind of eliminates the person saying, well, there's nothing wrong with me. I just wanted to get more information, or I want to get more information from my brother, or whatever. The IVR or AI will then sift those people out, and then you can follow up with an email or whatever, versus taking up the time to set up a Zoom call or whatever. So, and I'm just giving you it off the top of my head. There's a million other applications that AI will do. It will never replace the marketer, though. It will never replace the person sitting there gauging your reactions to things that we say. It will never be able to sit there and think off the top of its head and say, well, maybe we can go this direction or that direction, or we know this service provider. It just can't do that. So I don't think it will ever replace the marketer. I think it will only enhance performance marketing.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's a phenomenal tool that we have at our disposal right now, but I really don't see it ever taking over the true human aspect of a lot of people's jobs. The face-to-face that every human, no matter how antisocial or social you are, you still crave at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So what's your vision for the future of patient acquisition in the medical field? Do you see performance marketing becoming even more central? And how might AI further refine the process of connecting patients with the right providers?
I think developing the marketing strategies, whether you're using periodicals, whether you're using newspaper, whether you're using magazines, whether you're actually doing commercials. We're seeing more and more healthcare facilities stepping out now to describe their services. We're seeing more and more that are using AI to create surveys. After the visit, how was the visit? How was it received? How soon were you seen? Did the doctor act interested? Did the nurse who initially set up the appointment? They'll kind of gauge all those questions, and that allows you to then look at your services and say, how can I implement some corrective measures to make that service more applicable to the client base that I'm going after. So I think we're seeing more and more advertisement. I think we're doing it almost similar to a lawyer. I don't think it's the same type of advertising as Amazon Prime would do. I think they try to take it up a professional level, but it's still advertising, trying to distinguish why should I give you a call versus 5 other people a call that are also advertising.
Great. So, what's one piece of advice you would offer to private practice leaders, healthcare company founders who are looking to move beyond traditional marketing and embrace more data-driven, performance-based strategies for client and patient acquisition?
Don't be scared. I think right away people have that fear of, oh, am I going to come across as a scam artist? Am I going to be too based and scattergun? What's my target audience? I want to specify, really hone in on that target audience. If my specialty is cancer, then I'm going after that particular market. And I think that allows in the future to really have specific marketing for specific populations and really target it for that. And once again, why am I different? Why is my oncology clinic different than the one down the street, etc.? I think that we've got to continue to really hone in on the marketing strategy and what tools are we using? What's the most effective? Is a TV commercial more effective than being in a real estate magazine or a healthcare periodical? You're really going to have to look at that. And that goes back into the performance marketing of looking and saying, how many conversions? It cost me X amount of money to be in this magazine. How many clients did I see? And that's different than branding. If I'm just trying to get out there and get known and I'm branding myself, that's different. I wouldn't look at it necessarily as how many clients did I get in, because I'm prospecting for the future. So once I branded myself as being different in the market, then I can go after specific and hone in on my strategy. So I think there's those two different levels that I'm branding, or am I looking at specific clients to help?
Perfect. Well, Ron, this has been an incredibly insightful conversation. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. For our listeners who want to learn more about Partners Edge or just connect with you, where's the best place for them to do so?
Right to our website. It's partnersedge.com. And once again, like for partnersedge.com, we do insurances, this and that. Would we be the right person to contact for performance marketing in the healthcare industry? The answer would be no. You're going to look for that person who that's their specialty. Anybody who does everything and is a jack of all trades is usually a master of none. So you're really going to look and say, how many agencies, how many companies, how many clinics are you working with today? If they say, well, we're not really working with any today, then that's a red flag for you. You want the person who can then say, I work with XYZ, and that way you can go back to them. The fact that somebody might be a great marketer for sneakers is not going to be the guy that you necessarily want to do your clinic that's doing Botox. So once again, you have to really look at the population, specify in on it, and then target them.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Ron, for your time and sharing your invaluable expertise on Beyond the Clinic Walls, and we'll catch you guys again next.